What is better than one pair of earphones? Three pairs of earphones. Welcome to the Super Chong Show. So today I'm going to talk to you about a brand that you probably have not heard of before. This brand is called Focus Audio. Now it's a Chinese company from China that is making these cool earphones, but it is not talked much about in the Chifi circuit. We're going to explore more about them today. I first got to know about Focus Audio from Paul from About Audio, who previously did a review on them. You can check out his review below. Focus Audio was very kind to send me these three earphones for honest review. Now they have not paid me or anything, they just provided me with samples of these earphones for me to give my honest review on them, and they have not vetted any of this content as well. Let's get to the unboxing experience.
Just a commercial, you know. After that, I did stage plays. That's where I honed my skills, and that kind of enters no daily program. Like I said, a lot of things, but I kind of pushed the video becoming viral. Don't take life too seriously because you.
Now the three earphones that Focus Audio sent me, they are all basically very similar. They are called the Focus EDM, the Focus Vocal, and the Focus Rhythm. It is based on the CTTM Tesla Dynamic technology. Next, let's talk about packaging. Now, these three models not only look very similar, their boxes that they come in are almost identical, except for the sleeve that they come in where they differentiate the models. On the inside, you'll see the pair of earphones that is just sitting there with some nomenclature as well, and underneath it will be the very nice silver cable. I'm not sure if it's silver plated copper or silver. And beside it is its nice grey leather case. Inside the leather case are two sets of ear tips, one with a wider opening and one with a smaller opening for you to tune the sound. And next, let's move on to the build quality of these earphones. They basically all share the same chassis, and honestly, if you pass me any of these earphones and I were to just differentiate them by just purely looking at the earphones, I cannot tell you which is which. Now you can see the earphones that I have on my hand. Now they come in a very nice silver anodized satin finish, and on top of it, the faceplate actually has a very nice gold bezel around it. In the center, there is a wood veneer with the Focus Audio logo being in the center of it. Now, these earphones come in a 2-pin configuration, which makes cable swapping very handy. And on the whole, the Focus Audio earphones are very solidly built. I think if I drop them and I were to accidentally step on them, they will kind of survive them. And moving on, you can see the earphones are currently in my ear. I need to tell you that they are absolutely comfortable. On the inside of the earphone, you can see that it is actually quite rounded. So this roundness actually makes it extremely comfortable. The cable actually does not have a memory wire in it, but it's actually pre-formed to shape. You know, it really fits my ear very well. I can just shake my head as much as I want, and I don't think that they are coming off. Three model names that I have on hand. Now I have one of them, it's called EDM. The next one is called Vocal, and the last one is called Rhythm. So these are the names of the three models I have on hand. Let's start with the first, EDM. If you like bass, the Focus EDM gives you bass for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It has a lot of bass, and not those muddy, muffled type of bass. There is some form of control with the Focus EDM. Bass is extra thick on the Focus EDM, and not only that, bass is also very dynamic. I think the Focus EDM is the most dynamic sounding out of the three. And if you're the type of person that likes to listen to EDM, you need not look further. I think bass is one of the major requirements for this genre of music, and you get them in spades with the Focus EDM. sub bass is very well controlled. It's fast enough. So I mean, it's not the fastest sounding bass you're gonna get out there, but it's fast enough for it to be very enjoyable. Mid bass is where I find that there is a little bit of an issue. There is a lot of mid bass, and these mid bass actually sound a little bloaty. Now, it doesn't really bleed all that much to the mids that it changed the mid-range tonality, it does not, but you can notice that there is a bit of a bloat. For people who like bass, you will like this earphone. Next, let's talk about mids of the EDM. Now, mids of the EDM sit a bit further from the bass. The bass is the star of the show, and the mid-range is sitting further back. As I mentioned, the bass does not bleed into the mid-range, and it has enough sparkle from the highs to pull it through. Treble, as mentioned, is significant enough to pull the vocals to sound natural, but don't expect the treble to be ultra bright and pristine. It is not. The mid-range and vocals do sit a bit further compared to the bass. With regards to details on the EDM, on the whole, they are actually quite good for such a sound signature. Usually with this kind of very bass-heavy signature, you get a lot of muddy details that is not very prominent, but I think for what EDM is, there is enough detail out there to keep you interested. It is quite rare for such a earphone in this price range to sound somewhat balanced, although it is a bass head earphone. And moving on, let's talk about vocal. Now, this is the Focus Vocal. This personally I find very hard to review for a few reasons. It does accomplish highlighting vocals just like its namesake, but not in the way that I had imagined it to do so. Firstly, the Focus Vocal has the very rare DNA. It is a W-shaped earphone, which means that there is an emphasis on the sub bass. It has recessed mid bass. Mid-range is actually a bit more prominent, mid-highs a bit lesser, and treble also a bit bright. So you can imagine the W sort of signature. Usually if I were to design a earphone that highlights vocals, the W signature is very unique. The bass cleaner than that of EDM. You get a lot of sub bass with nice rumble, but you do not get the follow-up with mid bass. There is a bit of a gap between mid bass and vocals. To me, this sounds a bit incoherent. I usually would prefer that mid bass supports vocals a bit more, but this is actually quite absent. It does make for a bit of a disjointed listen between the sub bass and the mid range. Like its namesake suggests, the Focus Vocal really focuses on the vocal. It has a very nice, rich, creamy tonality that is unfortunately not supported by the mid bass all that much. If you're listening for this just for the mid range, I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit. Mid range also has a very good sense of clarity. It is really kind of like vanilla ice cream, rich, creamy, and delicious. And lastly, moving on to treble on the vocal. To be honest with you, because it is not supported so much by the mid highs, the treble is just hanging out there. It is present and there is good detail, but I just find them to be a bit disjointed on the whole. It is not very airy as well. All in all, treble is a rather polite representation. Overall, soundstage for the vocal is actually better than that of the EDM. The lack of mid-bass actually helps create this perception of a wider sounding soundstage. And that is pretty much it for the Focus Vocal. And the last earphone I'm gonna talk about today is the Focus Rhythm. Now this is just like butter on toast. This is a classic in the making. I personally find that the Rhythm is the most balanced earphone out of the three, and it renders music in a very elegant and sophisticated and dignified manner. I know I use "and" twice there, and that is not proper English. Vocal is basically a very slight V-shaped sounding earphone. It's not completely flat, but has a bit of a bump towards the bass to give it a bit of character. Bass on the Rhythm is actually very well done. The sub bass is actually very coherent with the mid bass. It joins up very linearly, and this leads on to the mid range The resonance that you get from the bass actually does not bleed into other frequencies, which I think that it is actually quite impressive. There really needs to be a touch of great skill to tune bass in this sort of manner, whereby there is control and for the earphone to still sound very engaging. Now, bass on the rhythm is not the most plentiful of things, but it is enough for them to keep you rather interested to listening to them. And also, if you're wondering that if bass is reduced, does this make you feel that there is more treble? Trust me, it is very well balanced. Now next, moving on to the mid-range of the rhythm. Oh geez, I need to let you know this, that I think that the vocals on this rhythm earphone, it's much better than the vocals on the vocal earphone, if that makes sense. Now for the vocal on the vocal earphone, it's a bit of a tongue twister, right? There is a bit of hollowness, a bit of emptiness to the tonality of the mid-range. Sure, it's very capable, it sounds nice, but it does not sound as lively as it on the rhythm, because I think the mid-range is actually a bit more coherent together with the mid-bass. It carries a lot of the mid-bass energy into the vocal section of the rhythm earphone. The tonality of rhythm, it's sweet with a touch of warmth, and this is really a very classic sweet rendition of vocals, and really I can't say enough on the vocals on this earphone. It is really very good. Treble again on rhythm, it is very natural. In fact, I think it ties up well with the rest of the frequencies. It is not overly emphasized, but actually maintains a very good balance. Overall smooth with good details, and in terms of airiness, I think rhythm is the most airy of the lot. The manufacturer does kinda somewhat mention that this is more suitable for classical music, but honestly I think that this is very suitable for more genres than just pure classical music. If you're listening to acoustic pop, rock, almost anything will work well with the Focus rhythm. Soundstage of rhythm is that it is the widest of the lot because it is the most, well, a bit lean sounding. It's the leanest sounding among the three, but you get very wide and tall soundstage with very good positioning compared to its other siblings. And on the whole, I think that this is actually quite amazing. And finally, in conclusion, I think Focus Audio, at the end of the day, it's a new manufacturer and they have actually launched quite a compelling line of earphones. I think rhythm is clearly the best of the lot. It can suit most situations very well, and for situations that they don't do as well, you can actually use EDM to cover them up. EDM is a bass monster, and if you are listening to music that has heavy beats, you'll enjoy the dynamics and bass from EDM. The only one that I find to be a bit of a loss would be vocals. Yes, they do highlight vocals, but they sound kind of unnatural. Yeah, on the whole, I think it's a very good first attempt. Check out rhythm and check out EDM. I think that they are actually really good for its price. Now these earphones retail for I think about 160 American dollars. They are not being retailed at many places at this current point of time, but I will include a link below for their Taobao shop. I am not affiliated to any of these sales that happen through here, so I don't make a cent out of it. On the whole, Focus Audio for a first attempt, I think is very well done, and I am very excited to see what will you guys come up in the very near future. Thank you very much for watching the Super Chonk Show. I know today's format is a bit long, and in the future I'll just try to cover one IEM per video. It's just that today's video, the IEMs are a bit too similar, and I'll just kind of cover them all together. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the content so far, please kindly like and subscribe in the button below. Just please press the button below with the bell icon by your side to be notified. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you guys next week. Bye guys. I like chocolate cake. Well, I think these days I like strawberry shortcake better, but here I am still rambling. See you again next week.